Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we're going to talk start collecting Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and we're going to have a bit of fun today. We're going to look at starting a Flesh Eater Courts army. We're going to look at how we can create an army for the Flesh Eater Courts with just 4 box sets. So that's right, we're going to build an army using only 4 box sets. Now, this will include, obviously, things like the start collecting box, but we'll go through all 4 of the box sets, talk about the units that come inside them, how we can build them, what we can use them as on the tabletop, and then finish off the video with a little sample 2,000 point army list for you to use as some inspiration. Now, this army list and this video is supposed to be trying to get an army on the table as quick as possible for the particular faction we're doing in this video today. This is definitely not the most competitive list you will ever find of this faction out there, but it will get you an army on the table with a bunch of cool models and some really fun units to play with. And so, to begin with, first of all, we have the Start Collecting box for the Flesh Eater Courts. Now, this box set contains an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist or Zombie Dragon. You can build either one of the 2 mounts for this, but also, if you wanted to as well, you can build the Ghoul King on foot, and you can then build an unmounted version of the monster of your choice as well. So you do have a couple of different options. Now, the 10 Crypt Ghouls as well, they can be built. One of the models in the unit could be built up as a Crypt Gust Courtier, though you probably will need to find another Ghoul to replace the one you use. And this is the same for the Crypt Flayers and Crypt Horrors unit as well. They can have Crypt Haunter and Crypt Infernal Courtiers built, though you do have the option there of potentially building, 3 of the characters and just 1 unit of 3, or, other things as well. So there's definitely some options to play around with and how you build this potential box set up. But let's talk about the units that come inside it, and the first one is the Abhorrent Ghoul King. Now, on the Terrorgeist, you have a big attack called your Fanged Maw, which is 3 attacks and 4s and 3s rend 2 damage d6. But the big thing is, if you roll that 6 to hit, you will just do a flat 6 mortal wounds with this model. You've got your Death Shriek as well, which targets your opponent's bravery, and you try and roll above that, adding your value to do some mortal wounds at range. The Infested rule means you can actually do some damage when you die, and Royal Blood allows you to do some healing. Now, if you do choose to go the mounted versions of these characters, you will get some summoning ability. On the Terrorgeist, you have Summon Royal Guard, where you can summon one of the Knight-type units, which is your Crypt Haunter or Crypt Infernals. So you've got some cool stuff there. Now, the other version is, of course, on the Zombie Dragon. This model here will have its Foetid Breath, which is a d6 damage minus 3 rend attack. But you've also got the Royal Blood, and you've got the ability to summon Courtiers, so you can summon the character versions with this particular model instead. Other than that, the model, regardless of which one you do, or indeed on foot, the Ghoul King itself is a 1-cast and 1-unbind wizard. Now, we then have 10 Crypt Ghouls who have got a very cool little update in the most recent edition. What this does is allows you to get some extra rend on them for a couple of your units, which is really nice. And so, with a new rule, they have Boundless Ferocity, where if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by the unit is a 6, it'll automatically wound. In addition, you can improve their rend by 1 if they're near any of your characters, 9-inch of any Courtiers, or 18-inch of any of your Abhorrents. The other unit we have inside the box set is the Crypt Flayers and Crypt Horrors. Crypt Flayers are really fun, where they have a nice range shooting attack at rend minus 2, but they've also got the Escort Courtier, where they can actually pick up your foot heroes and transport them around the battlefield with them. Crypt Horrors, on the other hand, have the potential to do some healing to themselves. They've got their Warrior Elite, where they can have some nice damage 3 attacks if they ever roll the unmodified wound roll of a 6. And Chosen of the King as well allows them to get some extra rend on their attacks for their 4 attacks at 4s and 3s, no rend damage 2, though some of these could be damage 3 as well, so you can get some points of rend on them. Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. And so our next box set is Jarians Delegation. Now, this is a really interesting box set because this is one of the brand new Regiments of Renown box sets that come out alongside the Dawnbringers Book 1. So you could use this to play in another army if you want as a Regiment of Renown, which is really cool. But you can also use it for a Flesh Eater Courts army, as all the models in this can be used in your Flesh Eater Courts army anyway. You just can't play with Jarians Delegation inside a FEC army anyway. But we do contain many of these same units we talked about in the previous slide, where we get 20 Crypt Ghouls that could also have Crypt Gust Courtiers built out of them, and 6 Crypt Flayers and or Crypt Horrors that can also have obviously the Crypt Haunter and Crypt Infernal Courtiers built out of them. Now, the new thing we get in this is the Marrow Scroll Herald, which is a brand new character for the Flesh Eater Courts. This model has 5 wounds with a 5+ save and 5 attacks at a 2-inch range on 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage 2. Now, the unit is not visible at enemy models while it's wholly within 6 inches of 5 or more other friendly flesh-eater quartz models, which is really cool. But the King's Entreaty allows it to effectively offer an infected bone to your enemy. If your opponent refuses the infected bone, your flesh-eater quartz effectively go all crazy and you get the fights first rule for units around him. But you also then, for the rest of the battle, if your opponent accepts it, your opponent has to roll 2d6 before they receive a command, attempt to cast a spell or chant a prayer, and before the action is carried out, if the roll is greater than their bravery, the unit cannot perform that action. This is pretty cool because if they choose to accept it, it will be meaning that, they can just have to test this every time they do it. It's a permanently lasting effect, which is really cool. Other than that, though, giving always strikes first still is really good. So you've definitely got a good couple of options for your Flesh Eater Quartz. And so the next box set I'm going to suggest picking up for this is going to be a single character called the Abhorrent Archregent. I think this is an absolutely amazing character that you can grab for your force for the Flesh Eater Quartz. For 240 points you get a 7 wound 4+ save character that in the current season will be an Antidorian Locust, which is really cool. But also you're going to get a 2 cast and 2 unbind hero, which is really nice for your magical power. You've got Imperial Blood, so the model just heals 3 wounds every turn, which is nice. Your opponent either has to pretty much kill this model outright, or it'll just heal up any splash damage it takes every turn. Summon Imperial Guard allows you to bring some units on the table, and you actually have quite a bit of option, as you can bring on 20 serfs or 3 knights, or a single courtier if you want to. Ferocious Hunger as well is your spell, which will allow you to add D3 extra attacks to a single friendly unit around it, which is really cool and super powerful for some of the units, especially when you start looking at how powerful some of the Flesh Eater Core units have gotten with the new update. And the last unit we're going to talk about is the Gatebreaker Mecha Gargant. Now you might ask, why am I including a Gargant here? Well, Gargants can be taken as allies for any of the factions in Warhammer Age of Sigmar that of course aren't Gargants themselves. Now, depending what Grand Alliance you come from, depends which one of these different Mega Gargants you can choose to take. And if you're a Death Army, you can choose to take a Gatebreaker Mega Gargant. Now when you choose to do this, it'll be a named special character version called Big Drog Fort Kicker. And what he does, he has 35 wounds on a 4+ save, and he's got some really powerful attacks with some Ren 2, Ren 3, damage 4 attacks in there, damage D6 and D3. Quite a bit of power and punch coming out of this model, and also it's pretty hard to take him down as well. Now, it does have a few special rules where he's got Grievous Halitosis, where at the end of the combat phase you can pick an enemy unit within 3 inches and roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit that are within 3 inches of him, and for each 6 the enemy unit will just suffer a mortal wound. His Almighty Stomp means you get to add 1 to your hit rolls for your Almighty Stomp attack if you target an enemy unit with a wounds characteristic of 3 or less. Crushing Charge will allow you to do mortal wounds on the charge. Death Grip in there will allow you to potentially, when determining the damage inflicted by an attack made with your Death Grip, if you target a monster, you can roll 2 dice and pick the damage characteristic of the 1 dice that you like the better. Longshanks is really cool for all your movement abilities, and indeed, you have Sons of Behemoth, where if the effect of a spell or ability would slay this model outright, he just suffers D6 mortal wounds instead. And he also causes terror, which means friendly, inspiring presence can't be used with around him. And lastly, you've got Smashdown and Pulverizing Strike, where you get to add 1 to his damage if he's ever attacking anything inside a garrisoning feature or terrain. Also, you've got the Pulverizing Strike, where if the unit fights, you can say, I'll unleash a Pulverizing Strike. If you do so, instead of making his regular attacks with melee weapons, you pick an enemy unit within 3 inches, and on 4+, the enemy unit will just suffer 4d6 mortal wounds. And so here we have our sample army list. Now, for our Flesh Eater Quartz, we're not choosing to go a Grand Court. Instead, we're going to go with the Feast Day ability. And what this does is allows us to, once per game, use our Feeding Frenzy command trait for free. This is really powerful. It allows us to effectively pile in twice and attack with another unit, which is super cool. Now, our grand strategy is going to be Baron Icescape. This means we have to try and control the center of the table and take out our opponent's wizards, but also going for a triumph, as we are 15 points under, and we've gone for Inspired, which is +1 to wound. Now, for our leaders, we've got Big Drop 4 Kicker in there, and we've got our Marrow Scroll Herald, but our Abhorrent Archregent will be our general, and he's going to have the command trait Dark Wizardry and the artifact, the Dermal Robe. Both of these give +1 to their casting, unbinding, and dispelling. And then we've also got the spell Hoarfrost, which I think on the current season is a really great spell to be throwing on one of our wizards, as we're going to really up the Ren characteristic of a bunch of our units. We then have the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgast, who of course has Gruesome Bite to allow you to re-roll those bites and get some mortal wounds, and the spell Spectral Host hopefully can give them model, run, and charge, so it can also give fire to your other units. Battle line wise, we have 3 units of 10 Crypt Ghouls, and then we have a unit of 3 Crypt Horrors and a unit of 6 Crypt Flayers. For our battalions, we have an Andorian Acolytes, which will include our... And so for our battalions, we just have a battle regiment wrapping up a bunch of our units to help make our force a 2-drop there, with everything except Big Drog for kicker in the battalion. But other than that, you know, this is a pretty fun force. You've got a bunch of good punchy pieces. Everything in here can be really offensively good, though some of it does lack a bit of defense. So you are playing a very glass cannon force here. But if you've got some ideas on a Flesh Eater Courts, if you'd swap out any of the box sets for some other options and box sets, let us know your thoughts down below. Remembering, the idea of this one is 4 box sets or less, so let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And so, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and also drop a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun little community, we have a Discord server which is linked down in the video's description, and also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel, either by Patreon or YouTube members, or by grabbing yourself some merch from our Teespring store as well. All of those are linked down in the video's description, and a special thank you to our YouTube members and patrons. We'd like to give you all a shout out, so thank you to our YouTube members: John Castle, Disco, James Tillman, Monty Tabletop Terrain, Ariana Edwards, Broken Chef, the Johnny84, Lock Lorick, Ronya, Green Roots Gaming, and our patrons: Wasarin, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Cure Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Redman, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. Thank you all once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.